This is a presentation of Northeast Streaming Sports. You're listening to TGI Sports Talk with your host Keith Angle on Northeast Streaming Sports.
Good morning, everybody. Keith Angle, TGI Sports Talk. And we're presenting Are You Serious this morning after being off for a week. We welcome everybody back. Carlos, the Mad New Yorker, will be joining us here in a few minutes. And we'll talk some World Series matchups. We'll talk some NFL news and continue, I'm sure, to have to convince Carlos his teams are better than he thinks they are. And we'll talk just our college football games to watch of the week. So we welcome you in today. Everybody on Facebook, everybody on YouTube, Twitter. We'll be on Roku later this morning. And this show will repeat a few times next week there as well. So again, thanks for being in. Hope you caught our Wednesday night college football huddle. We had a lot of fun there. And thanks to all of you who participate there and participate here. We'll be back live on Sunday morning. We were in the Caribbean last week, tried to do a few live shots. I know the feed sometimes is not very good. It's funny, I'll ask some people, and they'll tell me, geez, it looks great when I'm live. And then when I replay it, God, it's god-awful. So anyway, so that's where we've been. We're fighting a bit of a cold. Hopefully it's just a cold. Who knows? It could be COVID. It could be typhoid. It could be, monkeypox. Who knows? Whatever else. New disease we found here the last week or so. I'm sure it's just a cold. So, we're coming into a World Series here, and Carlos will join us in a few minutes. We're coming up on a World Series here, which is a very interesting matchup. And one of the reasons I'm not crazy about the new playoff format is not so much that the Phillies got in, is that these playoffs are just kind of, I don't know, a bit watered down to me. I don't know. But we're going to talk about that. We'll talk about the matchups. I find it very interesting. The matchups of the managers, very, very interesting. And Dusty Baker, who's been managing since, God was a baby, against Rob Thompson, who's only been there since June. Anyway, let's bring in the Mad New Yorker. Good morning, Carlos.
Morning, everybody. Happy Friday.
How you doing today?
Doing all right. Just running around. Normal morning activities when you have kitties in the house.
Well, that was your decision to make. You can't get rid of them retroactively.
No, it's good. It's good. They get you up early, but you get to rest late at night, right? So
I don't know. You do shows. Did you do a recap show last night?
I did.
What's late at night for you then? I don't. Man, late at night for me is 10 o'clock.
Man, late at night is just depends on whatever my head hits the pillow, man. That's what it is.
Oh yeah. If I'm up past 10 o'clock, I'm like a zombie the next morning. So
don't get me wrong. I'm not visiting any nightclubs and going out to Waffle House at 3 a.m. But
Waffle House. Remember those days?
Yeah, man. Not doing that anymore. But
No, I stopped about 40 years ago. No, not quite that long. But
that's what it feels like for me.
oh man, so listen, good to be back with you today after a week off and contracting typhoid or whatever on the high seas. So
yeah, I saw you got a little bit of color.
We're gonna, the one picture I posted looked a lot worse than what it was. It was lighting, and I was lathered up with aloe. So, but it doesn't last long, as you can see. There's a little bit left, I guess, but it goes away. That's just my pigmentation. I go from lobster to the whitest man in America again. Listen, we got a lot to talk about this morning. We got the World Series starting tonight, which again, we never used to do this. When playoff series would wrap up, they start playing as soon as they could, and for TV, they've got to make them wait nearly a week again to play baseball, which we've already seen has been a problem in these playoffs. Dragged out. if series end early, they ought to start playing the next series, I think. But
was that a choice from the MLB or from the networks or both?
I think it's both. I mean, they're in bed together, so I got to blame both. MLB is going to kowtow to the networks because they want the money.
Right.
So,
and they keep getting money. Did you hear they got a new contract?
Yeah.
I thought baseball was dying in America. What's going on over here?
Well, people are willing to pay big bucks for networks. I don't know, but maybe nobody's watching. Start the game earlier, too, by the way. Let's have a day game on a weekend.
We're going to have to sell patches, Keith. It's all about the patches and endorsements.
God, man. This is an interesting matchup, though. As much as I haven't been a big fan, I started to say this as I saw you pop in, I haven't been a fan of the new playoff format. I think they're watered down too much. You didn't get good series in those wild card rounds. We won't spend a lot of time on that, but I just don't like it. Phillies are a great story. We knew somebody could get hot, and it would maybe benefit them playing in that early rounds, and I think the Phillies are a good example of that. But I don't know that we have the best matchup we could have gotten, but it's the one we do have, and I'm happy because there's two guys managing these teams that I like a lot, and it's going to be hard for me. I want to watch a good series, but I want Dusty Baker to finally get his World Series, and he's been, put down. He should be in the Hall of Fame in my mind. He's got the most wins. I would bet almost anything. He's got the most wins of any manager not in the Hall of Fame. I'm almost positive. And on the other side, Rob Thompson, who's only been on the job a few months, but has done a great job. Another guy I like a lot. He's a baseball lifer. Spent a lot of time with the Yankees. Mm-hmm. He's done a great job with this team, especially here in the playoffs. So what are your thoughts just from a general standpoint? And then I thought maybe we'd go position by position a little bit and say who's got an advantage, and then we'll give our predictions.
Sure. So to your point, we spoke about the situation with the Phillies in the past few months during the baseball season. Even if they would have a possibility to make the playoffs, right? They were lacking pitching and health. And then, of course, the Astros, we talked about them always being in a playoff team and having enough pitching and enough hitting. And then their bats got a little bit cold, and then they got a rejuvenation after the trading deadline, bringing up a few players. So, it's definitely a tale of two cities, right? You can't write this story compared to all the 8 teams. Nobody thought that the Phillies would come out, and prognosticators had Astros coming out. Like maybe half of those people were thinking that the Astros would be there. So it's been quite a ride, and it's been exciting though, because you get to see Philly with a new manager. You got to see them with a few new players that are young. They looked maybe hesitant to be on the field a couple of times, but then they came through and they started playing baseball. So it hasn't really been a bad season, but it's not the teams that people were talking about will be there at the end, right? Maybe the Astros, but on flip side,
both championship series just seem to lack drama. I mean, the Yankees just got swept off the field, didn't play well, and we won't get into that today. We'll get into that another day. And the Phillies really manhandled the Padres. So I don't think we got, great baseball up until this point. Maybe the divisional round was maybe the best round of all. Yeah. For the games themselves. Looking at these two teams, I've heard a lot of talk about how the Astros have been winning without hitting. Altuve's got about 3 hits in the entire playoffs, it seems. But I would expect him to maybe bounce back here. But the Phillies haven't really, other than 2 guys, Hoskins and Harper, been carrying this team. They got 10 home runs and about 22 RBIs between them. They've been carrying this Philly offense, and 2 guys can do that when you get into a short series like this. I don't know that that's going to carry over. I expect Harper and Hoskins probably to stay hot. Hoskins may get shut down by this good pitching of the Astros, but Harper's really, really good, and people I don't know why people like to put him down. Maybe because all the money he made and the bonus baby thing, when he was 19 years old, he's in the major leagues. And, sometimes people root for people to fail for the stupidest reasons, but there's nothing to really get mad about, to dislike about Bryce Harper as a player. Great player.
Right. And I think also is that the amount of money he's gotten paid with the amount of time he's been on the field, I think it's like the knock on him.
Injury issues.
But as far as him being an outstanding player, man, he's he's been that the whole time he's been on the field. So when you play like him, you're bound to get injured anyway. So the knock on him has really kind of, it's back and forth. For me, I didn't really think he was comfortable in Philadelphia. I don't think he'd like being in Washington, but because you could tell sometimes when a player's not comfortable and just trying to play baseball, it's it's hard to watch sometimes. And he made it work though. He put his, he let bygones be bygones. He put his attitude to the side, and he's been playing baseball, and he's playing at a high level. And I like that the team is trying to meet him at that level, because a lot of them are young, right? So he's, as much as he's willing, him and Hoskins are willing this team to victory, he's also making an impact as far as what you want to call leadership. But him making, him doing what he does on the field is actually motivating the younger guys and making them feel like they can be competitive and be a championship team if they get to the next level, And the manager Thompson is letting it happen, right? He's letting his team just follow in Bryce's footsteps, man. Like, if you want somebody to look up to, that's the man to look up to, and he's made that a point. Right.
Yeah, two things there. I'm glad to see Harper get a shot on the big stage here and show what he can do. I hope he has a good series. And Rob Thompson is the anti-Joe Girardi. I've watched Joe Girardi for a long time, and I've said for a long time he is he's wound so tight. His teams play the same way, and Rob Thompson is the polar opposite of that. He's a laid-back guy. Not that he's going to let guys just do what they want, but he's got a way to get his point across without making his team be clenching all game long. So
with Girardi was just a scheme. Like, team didn't have enough power. They didn't have enough defense. They didn't have enough pitching. And he's used to being on teams that had uber talent and can kind of like bypass some of those things. But he just felt maybe he couldn't do enough with what he had. And lo and behold, Thompson comes in, but Thompson changes things. Him letting go of Didi Gregorius was a huge deal. It was, and then you brought up three other guys. That's big,
Yeah, and Didi was done, unfortunately.
Yeah,
it's too bad. He's a great player. I love Didi, but he was done at that point. You got to make those hard decisions, and the team did it.
Yeah,
the team definitely did it.
And then on the Astros, if you flip the screen and you see what the Astros did, bringing in Pereira, he's a young good kid, man. He can play. And they had to find somebody who could take over the position that Carrera was that had, and as well as the numbers that he was putting up. And this kid, he hasn't done it 100%, but he's 67%, and then the rest of the team follow suits, and everybody's doing their job in their position. That helps a lot, man. That makes a big deal.
I saw this kid play up here with the Valley Cats when they were still affiliated with the Astros in Low A, and you could tell then he was going to be a player. And the Astros knew it too. That's why they let Carlos Correa walk away. So he's come up very big, and he's needed to pick up some of the the bigger names like Altuve, and I guess Bergman's played okay too, or Bregman. Let's just run through, Carlos. Let's go through position by position and kind of give our thoughts on which team has an advantage here. We'll start with the position players. At catcher, you've got Vasquez and Maldonado. Maldonado does a great job of those Astros pitchers. They picked up Vasquez. I think they thought they might play him more, but Maldonado's really played the bulk of the innings against Realmuto, who's a much better hitter than either one of those two guys. And I think he handles the pitchers pretty well as well. And somebody the Mets I know were after last offseason. Yeah. I mean, I got to give the Phillies the edge here.
Yeah, so here's the thing. And Realmuto is still young. But the fact that the Astros could switch it up, I give the advantage to them. Because some nights might be longer than other nights. And but Realmuto, great defense, man. The problem with him is his bat is not consistent, but he's clutch. So it's kind of a catch 22 right there. So but I like Realmuto. He's a good catcher. It's too bad that he doesn't have somebody to back him up just in case. But if this series goes longer than it needs to, the Astros have the advantage because they have two guys they're not both great, but they're good enough, and their bats are okay. So I'm gonna give the advantage to the Astros for depth.
Okay, and first base, Yuri Gurriel, who's had a horrible season, 38 years old, been a great player for the Astros for quite a while, has come alive in the postseason, though. He's had some big hits against Ryan Hoskins, who's hitting under 200, but he's got 5 homers and 11 RBIs. So, defensively, this is not going to go to Hoskins, that's for sure. And he's a streaky hitter. He's a guy, I think, and Kenny was talking about the Philly hitting, which we're going to talk about as well as we go through these positions. This Hoskins is a guy I think could come up small here because I think the Astro pitching may shut him right down. Prone to strikeouts, prone to slumps, and he's hitting the ball out of the ballpark right now, but not with a high average. So I'll give the edge. I'm going to call this one even, only because Gurriel is still an unknown too.
Yeah.
Because of his age, sorry, he's obviously we know what kind of player he was.
Right, Gurriel's age, I think, is a huge factor as far as day in and day out. I mean, we're playing in the cold weather too, so that's gonna make a little bit of effect on how these guys perform. I'm gonna give the edge to Hoskins because he is streaky, but he's right now on a high streak. So I'll give it to him. Both defensively, they're okay. They're not stellar first baseman at the moment, but they're not bad, and but I give the advantage to Hoskins right now. To Reese.
Second base, to me, there's no comparison. Gene Segura is a decent player, another guy who's up and down. He's a shortstop playing second base, which is fine. Yeah. He plays probably better defense at second base than he did at shortstop in my mind, and he can get hot. But another streaky player and a guy who sometimes takes a little nap in the field too. I know Girardi had some issues with Segura, and probably the switch to Thompson has helped guys like Segura more than anything. And Altuve, despite his 0-for-25 slump that he went into here during the playoffs, he started to kind of put it together near the end of the last couple of games against the Yankees. I think in this big moment, you're going to see Altuve snap out of this. And he does have a lot of big postseason hits that he's had in his career. Now, the years prior don't matter. I get it. But I got to give Altuve and the Astros the edge here as well.
Now, this is a tough one because of the way they're both playing. I like Segura and his hitting and being on base. He's a good option for stealing, for putting pressure on the pitchers because of his speed. Altuve gets one ahead of him on defense, and also his baseball mentality. Altuve is what's helped the defense for the Astros in tough games. Segura, I think sometimes gets ahead of himself. Even though he's on the right mindset, he just may throw the ball short or may hop on a catch or something like that. And so the fielding goes advantage to Altuve, and the hitting and base running I'll give to Segura right now. Until Altuve wakes up, right? So if Altuve doesn't wake up, it really doesn't matter, but they at least have the second base covered and defense covered. So
excellent. And at shortstop, we talked about Didi Gregorius. He ran out of gas. Phillies pulled the plug early, a little surprisingly, but they made the right move and put Bryson Scott in there, who struggled a bit early on, but he had a good second half, decent second half with the bat. He's never going to, he's not going to be what Didi was when he was really good offensively, but he's making all the plays in the field, which is really matters. The Yankees, for instance, are a great example of the last couple of years. At my shortstop, I just want to make the routine plays. Doesn't have to be Ozzie Smith out there. So he's made those plays, but he's going up against one of the hotter players in the postseason here in Jeremy Pena. He's had a really some big hits, as we said. He's filled Carlos's big shoes to fill, by the way, in Carlos Correa, and he's done it very admirably. And to me, he may be the rookie of the year in the National League, and he may end up being the MVP of this World Series. He's a guy to watch, I think, for that honor on the Astros side. I'm going to give the advantage to the Astros here for sure.
Yeah, so Pena's nice, good compliment player to Altuve, and the fielding is you shore up a little bit of that defense because he's young and flexible, and he's got good baseball mind there. His bat is a little, it's not questionable, but he's doing good as far as hitting. I hope that they're not looking for him to keep hitting home runs, and they don't give him too much pressure on that end. But these two guys in the middle of the field, they help those pitchers out a lot. So I give the advantage right now to the Astros in the middle infield.
Third base, Alex Baum, who did improve defensively this year. I mean, he was atrocious when he first started playing third base for this team, and a lot of these guys were. I think the team as a whole has improved a bit defensively with him getting better and Marsh in center field. But I put him up against Alex Bregman, who bounced back from a couple down years. He had 23 homers, 38 doubles in the regular season, and he's had a pretty good postseason. I'm all over the Astros here. Bregman's got the experience. That's the other thing for any of these positions. The Astros have the experience in this situation, other than Pena, really.
Right.
That the Philly players don't. So I'm going to give the nod to Bregman and the Astros here again.
So I'm going to go the other way, and Braum has been improving every single month. And when I say that in a sense where he's always been a great young player, but now he's got confidence. Now he's got a little bit of consistency. He's got the right manager in his ear. He's got the right, attitude and the team around him to pick him up. And I don't feel like he has that much pressure on him. Like Bergman, who's coming back and is is not as consistent as he used to be. So because if Braum doesn't do well hitting, you see that other guys on the lineup have kind of picked up each other. If one doesn't do well, then the other one or two batters next will kind of pick up the slack, which Philly has been doing well as far as team ball and hitting. So his defense is good. He's young. He's quick. He's got a good arm. And I think this is going to come down to his play in that area with the Astros hitting, because they like hitting towards that area when they're not hitting home runs. And we're going to see how good he is. But I give the advantage to him because he's been getting better and he's on a hot streak right now, I think, as far as getting better.
We'll see how he holds up on the big stage here.
Yeah, that's the biggest question right now. Yeah.
Left field, maybe the two most defensively challenged players in this series, Kyle Schwarber against Jordan Alvarez, both tremendous, game-changing offensive players. Schwarber hasn't been hitting for average here in the postseason, but he does have 3 home runs. Alvarez has been, again, the Astros' dominance in the postseason is amazing, given the fact that Altuve and Alvarez have not been hitting at all. If he starts to hit and Altuve hits, Phillies are going to be in big trouble. This is kind of I'm going to call this matchup even, just because neither one of these guys, either one of these guys, I should say, could make a game-changing defensive miscue in left field, but they could also change a game with their power and the way they take their approaches at the plate too.
Yeah, and then one of the games that I saw this year where the Phillies played the Mets, I saw Schwarber just smack 2 home runs back to back. As far as a couple endings in between, and it was like, and the Phillies had no other offense, and after seeing him, I'm like, man, this guy doesn't need much. You don't pitch in the right place, he's gonna knock it out of the park because he has that much power. The Astros have to be careful with him. So like you said, I feel the same way about like you. Both of them are on the same page, and they both got power. But I think Schwarber has a little bit more power than Alvarez, man.
Center field's an interesting situation because the Astros have Chris McCormick, who they sent down during the regular season because he was struggling so much. He was hot in the postseason, killed the Yankees with a couple of homers and a couple other big hits. And Marsh, who was acquired from the Angels at the deadline by the Phillies, really helped their defense in the outfield because he covers a lot of ground out there, and he helps cover up some of those other issues that they have out there. Plus, he hasn't been really bad at the plate. And he had a big home run in the NLDS clincher as well. To me, I'm going to give the edge to the Phillies here because I like Brandon Marsh. I like his defensive game. And again, people don't talk about defense enough, and it can change the dimension of a game when somebody makes a big play, especially in the outfield here with these bats of the Astros. So I'm going to give the edge to Marsh here in the Phillies.
Yeah, Marsh is a great player, and he actually supports some of the what's lacking out there with Schwarber being out there, and like you're gonna see them come out and defensively, and you're gonna see Marsh cover a lot of ground. McCormick, he covers a lot of ground. He's fast. He's faster than he looks. I think the problem with him was his bat. And
until the Yankees series, geez,
yeah, and Baker was like trying to get him on set on the right page. They didn't know what they were going to do with him, and the fact that he's back and he's playing himself back into the roster and being consistent out there, that helps him a lot. And Baker does a great job with some of these guys who come in with some confidence and attitude issues, which I think this guy had as far as confidence wise. So I feel like he's still going to keep playing better, but like you, Marsh covers a lot of ground. He's a good player, and it's going to be good to see some defense.
Huge edge in hair, by the way, as well, because he's got quite the mane going there. I mean, I guess I wish I could grow hair like that, but I wouldn't quite grow it like that. Right field, Nick Castellanos has had a kind of a disappointing first year in Philadelphia, which is a tough place to kind of go and play. And he was forced to play more in the field than I think they thought they were going to play him because of Harper's injury.
Mm-hmm.
And Kyle Tucker has really turned in, I think, to one of the better players in baseball, at least outfielder-wise, for the Astros. I'm going to give the edge to Kyle Tucker and the Astros here just because I think he's a bit more consistent, and he is also an elite defender in the outfield. So, which, again, don't think that doesn't matter. Even though that isn't what we seem to pay attention to anymore in baseball, it still does matter. And I'm going to give Tucker a big edge over Castellanos here.
Castellanos had been listening too much to the fans out there, man. I think his focus is now like he's refocused. He's now playing better out there. He's hitting the ball. I think with him, it was more that he had to get his hitting going to feel like confidence in the game as a whole. And then you're out there with the fans screaming things in your ears, oh, we want Harper back, stuff like that. Like it's tough to play out there in Philly, but he showed a lot of he shows a lot just being out there and taking it. And now he's actually putting it back on the field with his bat coming back to life and his fielding. He's going to be all right. He's not a bad player at all. And I think he might be the secret for the success of the Phillies. To be honest,
hitter is going to be no contest. Bryce Harper obviously is one of the best players in baseball. He's shown it here in these playoffs. He's hitting like over 400 with those 5 homers and 11 RBIs, and especially that huge homer in the clincher in the championship series. If you haven't seen the play call, there's a video on Facebook of the Phillies announcers calling this. I think the radio guys. It was just classic. Anyway, he's going to go up and Dusty Baker's only got Trey Mancini, and who's okay at this point in his career, and Diaz and maybe some other options, but nobody's going to compare to what Harper can do there. Big edge for the Phillies here.
Yeah, definitely. I believe that the Astros are going to do the most as they can with who they have on the field, and hoping that they can, do their damage hitting and not be dependent on the DH. To be honest with you, so yeah, the big edge goes towards Philly for sure with Bryce Harper. That's a bat you can trust. Even if he strikes out once, he's not gonna not hit the ball during the game.
Right, and I got one comment here. Tucker's low key. I agree with that a lot, Alan. He's a guy who flies under the radar a lot, Tucker, just going back to him for a second. Starting pitching.
Oof.
Listen, on paper, and let's not get into spider tack today. Let's just ignore it, pretend it doesn't exist.
We're not going to talk about that.
We'll get back into that topic another day.
Let's keep it color where it's at.
Right. You would think starting pitching, relief pitch. The Astros just throw guys who throw gas at you right and left. But one caveat is the Phillies wrapping up that series with San Diego quickly allows them to pitch Nola and Wheeler in games 1 and 2 and pitch them both multiple times in this series,
right,
which gives them a puncher's chance here. Because those are their best 2 pitchers, and they have been 2 of the better pitchers in the National League throughout this season. So it evens it up a little bit. I'm still going to give the Astros the edge because of the bullpen. I think their bullpen's deeper than the Phillies. The Phillies could have run into trouble in the middle of these games if the starters don't go long enough and they can't get to the back end. I don't think that the closers – Robertson and I'm forgetting the Phillies' other closer now. I can't remember his name. I think they match up, favorably with the Astros closer as well. So, look at this is I'm going to call this to the Astros, but with Nola and Wheeler being able to pitch multiple games, it closes that gap considerably.
The question is, what is Noah Syndergaard going to do for you? That's the question.
Well,
and Thompson. It's not he wasn't born yesterday, and he has a lot of experience with pitching, and even with working with Girardi and all that, and the Yankee and Joe Torre and the Yankees, he knows that's the factor right now is what we're going to do with Noah Syndergaard.
And Rangers, what's his name? Ranger Suarez. He's pitched really well. His last 14 starts, I think, his ERA is below 3. So he's another guy.
You put those 2 in the middle relief. Because your middle relief is what.
Yeah, you might see Syndergaard there. I think Suarez will start game 3. I'm not positive. I think he'll start game 3. Suarez will, and then they'll play it from here. But after that,
so you would not see Nola come back in game 3, and then I would maybe pitch Nola again and then Suarez just to get that series out of the. You don't have depth in your middle relief, and that's what's gonna. And that's where the Astros are good at is coming back on, especially if it's lower than 4 points.
Yeah, I think where Nola and Wheeler come back and pitch a second time is going to depend on where the Phillies stand in this series, right? Mm-hmm. I think if they're ahead, they're going to try to keep them on normal rest, and if they aren't, I think they'll make some drastic changes. As far as the managers go. Look, if experience-wise, Dusty Baker's got a wide advantage. Obviously, 20 plus years probably, most wins. As I said, without being in the Hall of Fame, the one thing lacking on his resume, like Buck Showalter, as we talked about, is that World Series victory.
Yeah, I mean, is he going to go with the analytics, or is he going to go with his gut? Is he going to have those pitchers stay out there longer than they need to be? Which has happened before for Dusty.
Yeah.
Is that gonna come into play, or is he just gonna be like, you know what, we got too much depth. Let's just let him ride. Get your 60 pitches in and get off the field. So that's what's gonna happen at the end of the day, I think. And if he doesn't get one, it's gonna be because something silly like that.
Yeah, I'm gonna give the edge to Dusty here just because of experience.
They both got almost the same amount of experience.
And I think his team really wants to win this for Dusty. I think they like him. I think every team he's played for, Dusty Baker has been beloved by the teams. He's a player's manager, which the word gets used over, too much. The connotation is he lets the players do what they want. That's not what a player's manager really is. But Rob Thompson is as well. Right. I think these players really want to win for Dusty, and I think that gives the Astros a bit of an edge. So I'm going to call this series, Astros in 6.
Okay. Yeah, I think because of the cold weather, because of the managers and the players, I'm gonna say this goes 7, man. Because one team won't be able to shut it down because of depth, and I think that's probably gonna fall on Philly. So, but I give it to the Astros at the end of the day, because they have depth, and and the pitching and the hitting has consistently been okay. And they've been the most balanced team and the most consistent team throughout the year. But this is gonna be a great ride, and don't count out the Phillies because they're chomping at the bit, man.
Alan's
going with Philly. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I kind of want to root for Philly, but I can't.
It's funny. I don't. Well, first of all, Jamie Peggs is going to be like
freaking
explode for crying out loud between the Eagles and which we'll get.
Oh gosh. Yo, did you see him? He was on Amazon Prime on one of those.
I always see him. I always see the guy every time I turn on a football game or a promo. There's a Philly sports guy. So good for him, though.
Yeah.
I will say too, the Phillies' I think the Phillies' only chance here is to win all the games Nola and Wheeler pitch. That's, I think, their chance to win this series. And if they do that, then that's 4 wins right there. So,
I mean, it's gonna be. You know what? It's gonna be tough to watch having those expectations and then seeing the Astros go like 3-0 or something like that, right? And then that's what will make it interesting, right?
It might. Phillies need somebody to step up. Everybody needs. Look at the Phillies. Also, they win with the long ball. They got 20 some home runs in the postseason.
Yeah.
The Astros don't, and the Astros can beat you other ways than putting the ball out of the ballpark, and I think that's another key in this series. That
you know what I've seen and it bothers me so much is like, and in baseball this year is like the guys being left on base, the hitting percentages,
the guy the way we play the game,
and then on top of that, it's the mental errors in the infield. Man, like.
Carlos, we shouldn't be surprised at this point, right? Because we've talked about forever fundamentals lack in baseball, something terrible. Part of that is mental errors in the field, as you talked about. Part of it is how you approach with men on base. If you're going to approach it the same way you do with nobody on base, well, then you're not going to score as many runs, and you're going to leave tons of guys on base, which you seem to care about because the analytics say swing for the fences all the time. We're better off doing that. That's just stupid.
It's been eye-opening and even more discerning because in the playoffs, you're just like all these teams that were put together to play a certain way, and it just they didn't even play that way. You know, they were hoping to get to the next level with the long ball. It's like that's not what your team's built on. You know.
See what else we got here. What the heck? We got the Eagles. Hang on to that comment there. They can pull a shocker. It will be before Game 7. Earlier, Alan put up a point. If the series goes 5, it's going to go up against the Eagles and Texans on Thursday night on Amazon Prime. Guess what? That's one place I say that Major League Baseball has an advantage over the NFL. Any Thursday night game, first of all, and we're going to pivot. This is a good pivot to the NFL because, again, first the production on Amazon is horrendous. Their signal is awful, for crying out loud. I can't hardly watch these games. The play's been terrible as well. Last night wasn't good for Tom Brady again, obviously, and we'll get into that in a second. But Amazon Prime has done a horrendous job in these first 8 games that they've done, I think.
I think it doesn't help that the football on the field hasn't been.
Well, no, that hurts. I agree.
It hasn't been because you see the commentators in the middle of the game. Al Michaels talk about retiring like every game, and then
they will stop paying you your $10 million, Alan. Go away. I gotta watch for free, for crying out loud.
And then you have Herb Street trying to calm Al Michaels down about the scoring and trying to.
I love Kirk Herbstreit. I really do.
And he's trying to. So the commentating isn't terrible. It's not bad. I mean, and then they got the other players, Gonzalez and Sherman and Fitzpatrick. I mean, they're not bad. They just if there's nothing to talk about, then it looks bad, you know. So like us, if there was no sports on, right, and we have to stretch out talking about the Mets and the Yankees, we're gonna run out of stuff to talk about, man.
That's hard to.
You talk about maybe not the Mets, but the they don't have and all they can talk about is how bad it's going, and that's not good for TV either, you know.
Well, again, and the playing league, look, we've talked about it, and the reasons for it are whatever they are.
Right.
We talked about parity and how the league wants parity, and we have a little dispute whether the fans want parity or not, maybe. But if you want parity, you pretty much got it. You only got a couple of teams that are doing well, a couple of 6-0 teams, a couple of 5-1 teams, and everybody else is 3-3, 4-3, 3-4. You don't have a team over 500 in the south of the NFC. You got the NFC West upside down with the Seahawks. Nobody thought they'd have 4 wins all year. I said Geno's playing great football. I mean, the whole league just seems Geno's playing great football, and Russell Wilson and Tom Brady look like they should be in an old folks' home.
I feel okay. Let's break this spell. Let's break this spell. Halloween night. Let's get the world back in order the way it should be. It feels like we're in the twilight zone with some of these teams. I mean, I should be not complaining because both of my teams are doing great, but I'm scared, man. I'm scared because I feel like smoke and mirrors and everything's just gonna fall apart, and reality will hit, and we're gonna all just be standing in the Middlelands, whether it's the Jets or the Giants or both. Yeah, and looking at each other like we had season tickets for playoffs, but none of us are here. So let's just barbecue.
It's funny. I mean, we get overreactions are normal in sports. I have them just like everybody else does, but. We have only played 6 games, and it seems like a lot because after all, it is more than a third of the season,
right?
But there's still a lot of football to be played, and a lot of stuff changes in late November and December.
We got 9 more games, people. Wait, 7.
No, including this week. There's
this is week 8, so you have
11 games left.
It's not 19 games. 17, isn't it?
Well, no, most everybody's played. Well, some teams have played 6, some have played 7. I'm sorry. So there's either 10 or 11 games left, whoever, depending on how many have played. So that's a lot of times for things.
Too much time.
And so what's real? I mean, is the NFC East the best division in football? And it looks like it right now.
It's not. That's not real.
Again, you want to downplay your New Jersey Giants, 6-1.
New Jersey Jets.
Your record says you're what you are, and
again, we have 10 games.
Best record in football.
Okay, before last year, the Dallas Cowboys were like what 5-0.
No, we had this conversation. Alan straightened them out. I
it wasn't last year. I said before last year.
I don't remember what the answer was.
It was
before last year. I'm sure at some point they were 5-0. Yes.
Right, and then they didn't even make the playoffs. So, I mean, let's just calm down and take it how it goes. I'm happy right now that they're winning, but I'm not happy how they're winning, and I'm not happy about it. So,
CA, you're going to have to get me some information on professional darts because I'm going to need it to talk about it. You and Kenny Gifford need to get together because they want me to talk about some other sports besides.
That's true, Alan. In fact, when there was a Subway Series, I didn't watch because I didn't care who was going to win. I knew New York was going to win.
If the Jets Giants Super Bowl, this will make your head explode. Carlos will call for a tie so both teams don't win. Very unlikely that will happen, but look at 5-2, 6-1. These teams are playing better football. That's my only point. I'm not telling you either one of these teams are Super Bowl contenders, but I am telling you, no, it's 17 games in 18 weeks, Sal. I am telling you both these teams have made improvements, leaps and bounds. Daniel Jones has grown so much as a player every year. I've been telling you guys this.
In my mouth, man.
Every year. He's going to be your quarterback next year unless he falls.
He better not. Look, I'm going to tell you something. And if you have any experience in being a GM, don't sign this guy. Just move on. Move on from him. Cut your ties. If he ends up being a backup quarterback somewhere fine. But he's not going to be a starting quarterback in the NFL. In fact, Keith, if he's so great, if you like him so much, why don't you ask for the Patriots to pick him up? Because they don't
want that after what I've seen the last couple of weeks. I might want that.
Take him. I'll call the GM and see if we can swing a deal with Bill Belichick.
It brings up a great point. And again, I am not saying he's a great quarterback. I am saying he is a player who can win in the NFL. That's two different things.
Look, at this point, he's not better than a Trent Dilfer. He's not better than a Trent Dilfer or Mark Rippon or any other quarterback that wasn't that
great. Won Super Bowls. They all won Super Bowls.
I know, but he's not better than them.
I didn't say he was. I said he's a guy who can bring your team to a Super Bowl at some point. Not by himself. A good team, he can lead a Super Bowl winner.
I don't know, man. He's not even. You think he's better than Matt Hasselbeck?
I don't see a whole lot of difference. I don't think Matt Hasselbeck was a great quarterback.
He was a good quarterback.
He was good. I'm telling you, Daniel Jones is good too. I think he's probably the same player. How many Super Bowls did Matt Hasselbeck win?
But he took the Seattle Seahawks to the playoffs, and he was good for the Packers. Listen, besides all that,
he didn't play for the Packers.
Hasselbeck
sat the bench.
He got a few games in when Favre hurt. Listen, look, all I'm saying is that Daniel Jones is more in the realm and in the league of being backup or not than he is of being a starter and great. So,
what about the rest of this division? The Eagles for real? I know that's where Sal's going when he tells me
are the Eagles for real? You know what? The
really
Eagles,
good. I can't. You listen. I belittled them in the beginning of the season. I did not believe in Hurts.
Yes.
And right now, I'm wrong. I know there's a lot of football left, 11 games for them. But right now, they're 6-0, and that says they're the best team in football, and the play on the field shows it as well, I think.
Yeah, and I've said on the show when you were berating Alexander and Hurts.
Alexander?
Like,
who?
Huh?
What Alexander?
Lamar? I'm sorry, not Lamar. Lamar Jackson. I'm sorry, not Alexander.
Oh, Lamar Jackson. I didn't necessarily berate Lamar Jackson.
Yeah, you say he can throw.
Well, you're right. I guess I did berate him.
And I told you
he can throw. He's not accurate enough to win consistent championships in the NFL. I think Hurts is better than Lamar Jackson, right? Right this minute, I do.
Both you and Robert Butler poo-poo on Hurts and Jackson. And I say here saying let them be. They're okay. They just gotta be playing in a better system that fits their style. And right now they're doing all right. I give credit to Roman for last night, the way and what's last night and what he's been doing for the Ravens. I called him a high school coordinator, and and he wasn't doing that well for the Ravens, and he's finally using the Ravens offensive players' talents to their abilities. So that's important, people. I know as a coach, you want to come in and you want to, make a bet and say, this is how it's going to be. And this is how it's supposed to look like. Make sure you fold your edges and make sure the pillow's nice and tight. But at the end of the day, your players have to be able to play and they have to be able to use their talents. And they're finally seeing a reawakening of this in the NFL, because this whole Shanahan system is a sham, and people need to play to their best abilities, and you'll see that the actual players will be better and the games will be better if you allow that.
What did the Shanahans ever do to you? I don't understand.
Nothing. They just the system's just sham. It doesn't work unless it only works if your players are 100% healthy and you have all your stars in, and then you can do whatever you want for only 3 quarters.
By the way, the Giants picking up Jerry Jeudy would be a huge move for them. I just don't know if the Broncos are ready to fold the tents up yet. We'll see. And by the way, I'm happy Taylor Heinicke's playing as well. By the way, as bad as they've played, the team formerly known as the Redskins, Alan, are 3-4.
I think Taylor Heinicke's better than Daniel Jones.
Your team, 2 games. Right. But
I think they're almost the same player, Tyler Heinicke and Daniel Jones. But Daniel Jones falls more when he's wide open running.
One time he gets shot by
twice. He did it last weekend.
Well, one of the funniest videos I ever saw was somebody. I mean, in the world we live in today, it's probably not in good taste to kind of show somebody with a high-powered rifle shooting somebody, but they had a video that one time where he's running wide open for a touchdown. He just falls down, but a sniper shoots him down. So it's probably in bad taste.
They're trolling him.
I don't get offended by much. Sal says the Eagles' defense is off the charts. Agree, and then they added Quinn. What a steal! They get Quinn for a 4th-round draft pick in the middle of the season. He just had 2 or 3 sacks against the Patriots Monday night.
Yeah, Sal, good point. And what I like about this deal is depth, because you don't know what's going to happen. And you're just bringing another guy.
4th-round draft pick. Get it to me.
But there's a lot of guys that come out of the fourth round nowadays. So too.
Who's running the deal in Chicago for crying out loud? That's just nuts. Cheeseheads have been hearing it in our shop. That's what they are talking about so much. Cheeseheads have been hearing it.
I tell people, man, I like Green Bay.
Good.
They have a great history, but it's a black hole for football, man. It's a black hole because you got players that come out there, and since Aaron Rodgers has been there, and that's the only player they're paying, that's no bueno. And then
I will say forever, Aaron Rodgers got his $50 million, and then they can't afford to fill in a roster with decent players around him. Now, he does have some – Aaron Jones isn't being used right, I don't think. He's got to get more than 20 touches a game. Not all rushes, but he's got to get 20 touches. Yeah. And that's your fault, Aaron. Sorry, you took the money. Now, don't complain that you don't have the tools around you.
And they don't have like their coach is okay. They don't have a great coach there, so –
Let's see. We had a half dozen guns. Listen, this team is loaded for Bear. I was very wrong. This is the one team I'll say I was very wrong about. Now, I will say my best prediction this year was Tampa Bay, and I was still early. I said they wouldn't make the playoffs, and I said Tom Brady will rue the day he came back because of the stuff going on in his life, taken off the training camp. We disagreed that whether he needed it. I know. I have people getting on me. Tom Brady knows what he needs to do to get ready. A lot of new faces. This team is not good, and Tom Brady's not playing well. They're not making the playoffs, and he's done after this year.
Well, I'm not betting against him, and I think
this year I've seen him play enough that this is not Tom Brady. He's had
that team makes a lot of mistakes, and a lot of teams are making mistakes. You see a lot of flags, and yesterday was just you have the opportunity of going up ahead of Baltimore, and you make those silly mistakes, man. They're going to catch up to you.
He needs to eat a sandwich, by the way. What the hell is he doing? His face looks like he's like wasting away to nothing, for crying out loud. Maybe it's just, I don't know. But
he's frustrated, man. Look at when you don't he's lost 3 games in a row in the first time in a while.
Well, yeah, you're 3-5, and you are what your record says you are. I also
here we go again. There's still too many games left for you to be saying that phrase.
Would win this division if they win Sunday. Alan pointed this out earlier. They'll be in first place in the South without a quarterback.
I think Tampa's going to be all right. They just need to get on the page with
this
Tom Brady.
Division is terrible. This division's awful. So, I got a question for you too. Monday night. I am so mad at Bill Belichick, who is the greatest coach of all time. We all know.
I told you, man. You got to go.
Went out of his way to create a quarterback controversy that didn't need to happen. Mac Jones wasn't ready to play. He said, I'm going to play both quarterbacks. Well, that's just stupid. Why are you going to play both quarterbacks? If Mac Jones isn't ready to go 4 quarters, don't play him. And now he's created a big problem because there's a big division amongst the fans, and if it goes on long enough, there'll be a division in the locker room. He's created this problem for himself. He should have. I'm not saying Bailey Zappi should be the quarterback. I'm saying Bailey Zappi should have started Monday night and played the whole game if Mac Jones wasn't ready to play.
The reality is, Keith, that you guys need a quarterback. Okay, just say that.
I don't know.
Just say that. And you want to be like Green Bay and produce a quarterback, then go ahead and be like Green Bay and produce a quarterback. But that doesn't produce a lot of Super Bowls. All right. You're in a win now situation. You need a win now quarterback.
Tom Brady was a project.
Tom Brady only sat behind what's his name until he got hurt.
2 years. Well, year and a half.
Year and a half, man.
Tom
Brady came out and played as
come on.
He got Rookie of the Year, didn't he?
No, he did not. He was a game manager for the first 2 or 3 years of his career. He wasn't Tom Brady until like year 5.
What?
The Tom Brady we came to know.
Oh, the Tom. Okay, come on. All right. All right. Look, that team was ready to win. Tom Brady got his opportunity, and that's history. He wrote history. But the reality is that you don't have quarterbacks like that coming out of college all the time. That's the reality. So you need a quarterback. Just say that. Be honest with yourself and say you need a quarterback. That's what teams need to say sometimes. That's all it is.
Yeah,
and you're not going to get Tom Brady because that's an anomaly. That's a one-in-a-lifetime opportunity.
And again, you think the same thing for the Jets. You think they should throw their quarterback in the trash after the guy they picked?
Because he didn't prove nothing. He hasn't proven anything. Okay, they got him.
Through something.
They got him on a win, first of all, because they couldn't get the quarterback they really wanted. So they got him off a win, right? And then now they're expecting him to be like the quarterback they wanted.
Who did they
That's
want?
not going to happen.
Trey
So
Lance?
no, they wanted what's his name? They didn't want Trey Lance. The Jets didn't want Trey Lance.
I would like to document that. I wanted them to pick. I thought they should have picked Devontae Smith with that pick. I want to remind you.
I've been saying the whole time they just need to stop with the first rounders, sell the pick, get as much as you can, because they don't produce, they don't help bring up any quarterbacks, and the New York area is not a good place to produce quarterbacks.
Alan likes to remind me over and over again that my team's in last place. Will that statue be built? No, Mo Lewis. I'm raising funds for it right now, Alan, for sure. Mo Lewis has been the MVP of the Patriot franchise since 2000.
Yeah, Drew Bledsoe, listen.
Right. All right, let's. We got a couple minutes left. Let's segue over to college. Give us who are you looking at this week as the games you cannot miss?
I'm looking at not missing the UT game versus Kentucky. I want to make sure that Tennessee comes up on top, plays like they should play like they have to play, and prove that their ranking is where they should be standing, not just because they beat Alabama. And that's going to be a tough game.
I think it's a tough spot for UT and Georgia this week. Georgia with Florida coming up. Don't look ahead because they're playing each other here. Is it next week or the week after?
In a couple weeks. No, next week.
Is that when they play Tennessee and Georgia?
Yeah, at Georgia, right?
I think you're right. I mean, so this is a place you got to be very careful not to look ahead too far, because it could be a dangerous game for both these teams. So I'm very interested in the Florida-Georgia game as well as Kentucky. I like Kentucky because I love their quarterback. The offensive line is awful. I
want to see that Tennessee defense prove that they're a top-rate defense. I mean, and I said to you last before this season that Tennessee has a good group, that they're going to be good, and I'm hoping that they're better than good. So we'll see.
That's one for you. Give me another one.
Then the Oklahoma State game, man.
Kansas State, Oklahoma State. That's a good game. That one of those teams probably will be in the Big 12 championship game, I would say, against TCU most likely. That's depending on this. So one more for you.
And I'm going to see if Oregon can keep it up.
Where's Augustin tonight? He would love that. He's a big. He plays
man. I just
10 times.
I've been watching that. You talk about defense. That they're a fast defense. They're not great, by all means, Keith, but they're fast, man, and they're scary fast. And if Oregon can keep the time of possession on the offensive side, they give their defense a better opportunity of running around and using that speed. I think that's a problem that they had at the first game, was that they were just trying to score real fast. They didn't get any first downs, and then you saw that defense just got wore out because they are fast. If I'm coaching them, I don't. What do? You just let them ride and use their skill set. Yeah. They're just quick and fast, so you're gonna get worn out. So the problem with Oregon is they don't have depth in the positions that they're running these guys at. So. Yeah, but it's good to see them, man. It's good to see them play, and it's good to see that, competitive nature in that team.
Yeah, you have a great Friday too there, CA. Thanks for popping
in.
It's coming. Alan says Utah won last night. Let me give you two games quickly that you didn't mention. I want to mention. I'm very interested in just because of regional bias, probably Notre Dame going to Syracuse. Notre Dame played a little bit better. Syracuse playing well. Tough loss last week at Clemson. They were a big underdog. Clemson's definitely a better football team, but Syracuse is in a position to win. Tough loss. I'm interested to see how they bounce back from there, because they're still in a position to get a decent bowl game if they continue this success. And then Ohio State at Penn State.
I didn't mention that one because I don't know if I can watch that one. I want Penn State to win, but I don't know if that's going to happen.
Well, I mentioned it only because I want to continue my bashing of James Franklin. 2-19 against top 10 teams. He will get thrashed against.
If you watch that game, no matter who wins that game, you're gonna see about 15 to 18 kids ready for the NFL. Like, it's ridiculous.
Agreed.
Penn State has about 9 guys that are ready to play in NFL. Ohio State just almost one or two guys more than Penn State. Crazy.
Yeah, James Franklin produces some good players. He's got good teams. He just can't beat good teams. That's all.
Yeah.
So anyway, great hour. Carlos, thanks for your input. World Series starts tonight, guys. Ought to be fun. Got a great college football. Not the best schedule this week, but we're coming into some really good football these next few weeks. And, of course, NFL is in high gear, which we'll continue to talk about each Friday. Carlos, thank you. Everybody, thank you for being with us today, and have a great Friday.
Happy Friday.